and maybe not friends. I don't know. It is Friday at around 4 o'clock. I am doing an early stream. The wife is getting her nails done, so that usually takes a while because when she goes, she gets a mani and a pedi. And so that usually gives me a couple of hours to hang out with the pup and do what I'm doing. Right now, if you're wondering, I'm cleaning the super glue off of my drill bit because sometimes I use the drill bit to poke a hole in my super glue. Let me fix this too. Okay. And then you get glue on the drill bit and then it won't drill, blah, blah, blah. Right. So let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Right. Everything is being so been playing a lot of Conan and reading a lot of Hyperborea. That is what I've been doing. So, huh, damn, it's been since the 27th of last month since I posted a link to a live stream on my show. Hmm. Cold Iron sent me a message. Okay. Ulthar, Near, and Hathik. James in the Dreamlands. Oh no. In the latest bit thing he made for me, an evil wizard, which is him, has thrown me through a portal. So now my character is no longer actually in Hyperborea. I'm in the Dreamlands. Yeah, Ulthar, the cats of Ulthar. Yeah. I mean, the guy makes the best things ever. I mean, I'm so grateful that he, for some reason, decided to even make these. It's like, see, I don't know if he knows it, but I'll tell you guys, if I ever, and it will happen eventually, right? When I get sick and I decide that I've about had enough of this world, I'm going to take and get some really good, like, photo printer paper. Actually, I already have some around here. And I'm going to get brand new ink and everything. And I'm going to print every one of the pictures he made of me off and make a big scrapbook of just all those pictures. Try and put them in chronological order and everything, right? And I may make multiple. Like I may make one and then take it to like, you know, Kinko's or Staples or whatever to get copies done up. And I'm going to give them to people that I love. The people that I'm leaving behind, as it were. Okay, that's interesting. This big guy here that is getting ready to drill into his hand, it turns out the hand is a separate part from the miniature. Interesting. It's not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing, though. So that is whether Cold Iron knows it or not. That's what's going to end up happening. Is I'm going to kind of make my own book made up of all the things he's done for me and just give them to people, you know, at my funeral. And so that my family and friends and all that sort of stuff will always have like that to remember me by. I mean, I'll probably put some actual pictures of me in Iraq and stuff like that in there too, real stuff. But to be honest, I mean, I'm very, very, very happy with the Hyperborean stuff. It's, you know. So there we go. This knucklehead here has now got a pinhole. You probably can barely see it in his hand. So I'm going to take a little piece of brass wire I have. But honestly, for stuff like this, just standard staples work great. That's what I used to do. Because you could go to any store and buy like a little box of standard staples for dirt cheap compared to how much it costs to buy, you know, the brass or the copper wire. So so here we've got Mike. How you doing, Mike? How you been, man? So we've got this bit of all right. So that definitely is going in there. So we need to put a little bit of super glue, a little bit of I'm actually not using Gorilla Glue at this point. I mean, I'm using the container. I buy I buy this medium viscosity industrial strength super glue from Glue Master. And I think this costs $11. And I mean, this is a hefty freaking thing. This is a full 8 ounces here, right? And then because it would be a pain in the ass to try to actually glue anything using this, I just keep. I've had that glue bottle for so long. I don't even know how long at this point. And I just, every time it starts getting a little low, I just top her off and keep using it. You know what I'm saying? Now, I did get some stuff, and I know I'm always like, well, I got some stuff. One thing I got, somebody, I forget their name, but the other day we were talking about Cold Still, and I was going off on spears, and somebody was like, the Cold Steel spear is really badass. I went online and decided to try to look for one. Couldn't find it. But then I found this. I'm going to show this off. Hopefully, it's not breaking any rules. This is not a weapon, this is a tool. This is a sax. And it's very reminiscent of, and of course, it comes with these buckles that go through here so that you can actually buckle it to a belt or something like that. Because the sax was not worn up and down like we wear knives today. It was worn more or less like that, or you could put these over and wear it like that. So, um, so what is the sax? What's up, Timmy Pilkington? The sax is the number one most carried dagger during the I would say even before the Romans, but definitely up until the Renaissance. You know what I mean? By a lot of tribes. Mostly known for the use by Germanic tribes and things of that nature. The Celts used them. The Vikings used the hell out of them. The Germanics, like I already said. So this is the sheath, reinforced. And this is how, see, I'd hang mine with a belt that goes through here so that it would be hanging sideways on my waist, right? The thing with the sax is when you entered into the feast on stuff like that, a lot of times, man, they are not going to let you come walking in there with a broadsword strapped to your back or an axe. So, you know, it's like, no, we're not doing that, right? But it was pretty common for them to let you come in with a sax. Now, I do have questions about whether the sax that your common person was carrying was as big as this bastard. right? Because I've seen pictures of them on miniatures and stuff that I own. And this one seems to be a little bit on the heftier side for the sacks. So here it is. First off, full tang, carved wooden handle, brass fittings, and some of you will recognize that blade design. And the reason is this is the blade the American hero Bowie based his knife on. This is the blade. Now, again, when I bought this thing, I was thinking maybe an 8-inch blade. I really was. I was thinking like something you'd carry around to maybe whittle, cut a rope, something like that. This, I think, could easily classify as a short sword. I mean, yes, it's like I said, it's cold steel, so this is all modern technology. This is 440 spring steel blade, so this is as good as pretty much any blade you're going to get. It's riveted in. It doesn't got like just the little thing. It's actually got a tang that runs through that handle. So yeah, this could be used to do real work. This is like the third or fourth cold steel thing. In a lot of my thumbnails, you see my characters carrying like a Viking style hand axe. I own that in real life. I own one of those. It cost like 30 something bucks. I mean, it was super cheap. But so I've got a little bit of a ruler here. Let's see what we can do. I'm just going to measure the blade on this bastard here, right? So that's an extra inch. So this thing to here, this thing is about 13 and a half inch blade. Now, that's not a dagger. That's not a knife. No, this is definitely not a dagger. This is definitely in the category of a short sword. You know, a 13-inch blade. Um, what I will say about it, a lot of the earlier saxes, you can see how this bevels to the point, right? It's got the drop and it bevels to a point. A lot of them didn't bevel to the point. A lot of them would be straight to the drop point. So it was basically like a cleaver, right? But yeah. So long story short, any of you guys that hear the word sax, SAEX, or you think about D&D daggers, and like if you're playing in a game, especially a game that's highly influenced by the Rus, Germans, Vikings, etc., and you keep seeing the word sax and you're wondering, well, hey Coochie, what is a sex? That is a sex. Every warrior of the cultures aforenamed, Viking, Rus, etc., every one of them would have one of these on their belt. Now, again, whether it would be this size, I don't know. And like I said, they've got this rope here because, yeah, some people carried it around their neck. That would get a little bit of a way. You know what I mean? You're running around with this thing around your neck. I mean, the good news is you're running around, it's around your neck. You know where it is. When you need it, you know where it is. You can pull this joker out. But since a lot of people wore a nice thick belt around their tunic, the belt would slide through here and it would hang flat, horizontal to the ground, wherever you would have it. And this would be a weapon that you could carry in the village in places where you would not be allowed to carry a sword. So there's that too, You walk into the village and they're like, yeah, the swords and axes and all that shit, they're getting put up. Get rid of all that armor too. We're not doing any of that today either, right? Because the only people wearing armor and carrying heavy weapons like that are going to be the guards, Huskarls, Drazina, the hearth guards, the people who directly serve the Lord. But every freed man and warrior would have this. So I don't know, man. I'm not saying I would want to fight a guy with an actual 30-inch long sword with this little thing, but I would definitely rather have this than nothing if it came down to it. You know what I'm saying? You're in the mead hall, you're drinking, somebody reaches over and grabs a big handful of your wife's butt. At some point, you know, you're going to have to deal with that unless you're into sharing, and I'm not. And you'd be really thanking whichever gods you worship that you got this. And so, yeah, there you go. And like I said, the Rus lords carried this, the Slavs carried this, the Vikings, who are just the actual. When I say the Rus, it's important to realize that the Rus originally were just Vikings that, for some reason, got lost and went east instead of west and ended up down into Byzantium and shit like that. But they all carried these. And anywhere they went, everyone else carried these because it was just such a useful. I mean, if you got to do some work with this thing, and by work, I don't mean, slitting a gizzard. I mean, like cutting down some small trees to make a shelter, whatever. If this is what you got on you, this will work. And also, like I said, cold steel is good. The spine of this blade is a 1/4 inch thick, and it's like I said, 440 spring steel. So this is as good as any knife you're going to get anywhere for whatever. Now, unfortunately, Florida, I can't carry this around. Somebody had seen me carrying this around. I'd end up going to jail because I think our rule down here is 4 inches, right? So, which I think is unfortunate. I think if you want to carry around a sword all day, every day, you should be allowed to. But then again, some people have said I got weird ideas about things. But why not? I mean, it's only a problem if you pull it out and you start, gigging people with it, right? Had the pleasure of playing Matthew Tapp's Barrows and Borderlands last night. I have a copy of it that got sent to me on PDF, and I've read through it, and it seems very much kind of like. Now you can correct me if you think I'm off base here, but it almost has a very Gamma World feeling to it. It's like, if you get what I'm saying, it's fantastical, and yet there's a lot of weird shit going on. And, but Arduin's that way too. And Arduin, there's like aliens and, just all no end of stuff going on. George, I haven't seen you in forever. Home dog, what's up? So, yeah, I decided. I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but we got a thunderstorm, which is absolutely normal for this time of year. So, I see your chat, Haas. I see your chat. By the way, Timmy, who was in, uh, he found a sword in Conan called um, Jedis's Saber or some shit like that. It's a lightsaber, basically, which I think is funny. Yeah, Coochie, you're 100% right. In the state of Florida, if you're hiking, fishing, or hunting, not only can you carry a big knife like this, you can carry a rifle, which freaks people out because if I go down to the nearest lake and I cast the thing in, but I've got my 300 blackout rifle laying next to me, the normies are going to lose their shit, and then the cops are going to show up and they're going to be like, yes, we know it's legal, but the question in everyone's mind is, but why? Not why is it legal? We know it's legal, but why are you carrying a AR-3, chambered 300 blackout when you're out here trying to catch some brim? It's like, and then you can be a hard ass to the cops and be like, look, this is my constitutional right, and I'm doing it, right? Yeah, that'll make you a lot of friends really quick. because now all of a sudden, um, they're going to be like, all right, this guy's a dick. He's out here doing some shit. So now we gotta look a little deeper in to see if maybe he's crazy or something, right? And so I guess basically what I'm saying is if you don't want problems with the police, yeah, alligators are a real thing. And I bet you if you were going to use any excuse, now that you've said that, if there was any excuse you were going to use, that's the one. Yeah, you guys are both right. If I'm sitting on the side of a canal or on the side of a muddy freaking lake trying to catch something, and the cop's like, "Why do you have an AR with you?" I would say, "See, I hadn't even thought about. You guys thought about, it, so I'm not even going to take the credit." But yes, you all deserve the credit for that one. The correct answer is gigantic reptiles, right? Like, well, snakes, I don't know. Maybe if I was down in the Everglades, I might be worried about like a green anaconda or something. But I mean, a water moccasin, you can beat one of those to death with your rod and reel. You don't need a rifle for that. But a big old alligator, that is always a reason, right? So, I mean, I guess you could be a real smart ass. And they're like, so you're out here fishing. Why do you got your rifle on you? And you could just be like, meth heads? You know, maybe I don't want to get robbed. This pin gold reel on my ugly stick costs like $300. You know, start talking that kind of trash. They probably would not appreciate it at all. So I've actually seen, you can go on YouTube and see where people have done that kind of shit in the state of Florida. You know, they go to some overpass near like a place. So, it's a kind of a busy area. It's an overpass and they bust out they've got their rod and their reel, obviously, and they've got their freaking AR, whatever, and they're sitting there fishing. And those dudes, because I'm a nice boy, those dudes are actually there to cause the guff. That's the whole point of their whole thing. Yeah. I mean, predators, human and non human, right?
Yep.
Florida and Riffs is still Florida. Yeah, right. Dinosaur Land or whatever they call it. One of the places in Rifts that I expressed a possible interest in actually playing. Yeah, you've got the guys, and it's like, I don't even think they're wrong. I just think that the cops just get so pissed off about it. However, I have watched YouTube channels where a guy will be out in a canal and he'll have his AR on his back and he'll be fishing, and a cop will walk up and just be like, "You all right?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, just fishing." And the cop's like, "Okay," and leaves. And at that point, all the Karens in the HOA are pissed off because they're like,
Yeah.
you
They
know,
just
because they want the cop to do something. But there are a lot of cops, especially down here in Florida, who do understand the law. And they also got better shit to do than worry about some dude hanging out at a canal somewhere with a rifle on his back. Because I'm going to tell you this. This is my opinion, guys. The guy hanging out at the canal with a rifle on his back, I would be willing to bet anything is not the guy that's going to do something. So, is that a thing? Do you mean Florida in rifts? That is a thing. Florida is a thing in rifts. Yeah, it's Florida, parts of Georgia, all the way up to like South Carolina, and it goes all the way over like New Orleans. And it's just nothing but fucking jungles and dinosaurs. That's really Florida, right? I think there's a cult where Disneyland used to be, but I mean, it's rifts. Expect it to be weird, man.
cult of the
And
mouse.
Yeah, the cult of the rat, right? But Timmy.
Yeah, James, I just wanted to say the lightsaber you were talking about, it even makes the noise.
Timmy and the lords of the underworld.
You know that, James?
Da-na-na, da-na-na. You told me that earlier. Da-na-na, da-na. To all the player haters sucking on my Jimmy. Timmy, they still don't know what kind of blow to give me. We're the lads from the Lord of Nod, and we rock to his us and we're never gonna die. Yeah, yeah, that is an actual song. Be in a corner booth puffing like a chimney. Yeah, and then when the chorus hits, you got Timmy going, Timmy, Timmy, living a lie. Yeah, this star's blowing up like uh, whoever in Denny. Bruce Willis. Yeah, the star's blowing up like Bruce Willis and Demi. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that. I got a new thing of glue, and the first thing I always do with the glue is yeah, is that a thing? That is such an open question for people living in Florida. Like, is that a thing? You're gonna have to be more specific, Coochie. Is that a thing? Yes. The Villages has the highest per capita population of STDs in the world, and it's a 55 plus community. Green anacondas down in South Florida. Yes, that is a thing. People who just do stupid shit and see how the cops will react. 100% a thing here. Uh, See, I live by the rule of I don't want the cops to know what I'm doing at any time. So the idea that I would strap an AR on my back and stand around and waiting for a cop to come, you know, have to deal with me, I'm not doing that. And it's not like because of some sort of, bending to the man, even though maybe a little bit. It's that I've worked with a lot of these cops. Like I work closely with a lot of these cops, right? And I happen to know that most of them got better shit to do. They don't want to be messing with your dumb ass. There's other shit going on around town, even if it's only a sell at the donut shop. Whatever the hell it is, that's what they'd rather be doing than having to go out and figure out what you're up to. So, yeah, so I'm all like, whatever. I mean, I ain't messing with them. They can, uh, they can just do whatever, and I'm just gonna do whatever.
Oh, no.
And that's really just about it. But the one thing we all have to remember is Timmy Timmy living a lie. Uh-oh.
What is.
My wife just got
Oh,
home. She's getting soaked too because it is coming down out there. And the dog is all happy. He's like, Yay, mama's here. Uh-oh. She kicked the door open but didn't come in. What was that all about?
who knows?
Drowned Radimus. A drowned Radimus. Well, at least the other fuzzy Radimus is happy.
He does seem happy. Did he miss me today?
Yes.
Well,
All right. Well, you give him whatever. But so later on today, I am going to be making the Mage video to back up the fighter video I already made. Nope, I am not talking to you, man. And then after that, it will be the thief. No, actually, it might not be the magician. It might actually be the cleric is next. because I'm doing them in alphabetical order. Or it might just be however they are in the book, because the fighter was the first class. So, if the mage is the next class, then I'll do the mage. This
Go
spell's
cleric.
gonna win me.
Cleric's the best.
What?
Cleric's the best.
Cleric, I think, is the best class, but people have opinions. Now, saying that I think the cleric is the best class, I would probably never play a cleric. Uh, I'm not really interested in playing clerics, but they are pretty damn good. I will give them that. I mean, they are a good class. So these wolf shield miniatures, which, like every other miniature in the world, it seems like, is actually produced by Renedra. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Paul. And I don't think the cleric is next. I think the magician is actually next. And it started with the fighter, so, do with that as you will. I will continue just going in the order that they are in the book. So the first 4 are going to be the basic classes. And then after that, there will be 20 or so about the subclasses. The subclasses, there's actually a lot more to talk about than there are the classes, because yes, there's a lot of things that are different, but I mean, fighter is fighting, you know. Cleric does clerical stuff. They might have some extra abilities, but at the end of the day, that's just kind of the thing it is. But when you get into the mages and you start talking about pyromancers, write a letter. Actually, I did something even goofier to Jeff Delanian. I sent him a copy of one of the James of Hyboria t-shirts. Hopefully he likes it. I think he will. Except according to the new storyline, Cold Iron has put me in the Dreamlands. I got thrown through a portal, and now I'm in the Dreamlands, which in my campaign world is deep underground. It's in Under Hyboria. And I'm on a path trying to figure out if I want to go to Ulthar or not. So, yeah, a couple of my longest time buddies, I ended up sending out shirts to. I mean, didn't send one to my brother because when I asked him, he was like, no. We're like, fine. Cold Iron got a shirt, the one that has a picture of him on it. And Holy Diver got the shirt that has a picture of him and my wife and myself fighting undead. So, stuff like that. I might have even sent Shadow a shirt. I should have sent Shadow the shirt. I might have actually sent Shadow the shirt where it's done in Adventure Time art. And I'm like Finn the human, and my dog's like the dog, right? And Shadow's like the Ice King, and he's trying to break into the tree fort. We're not letting him, and we're just laughing at him. That might be the one I sent him, which, in my opinion, would be absolutely hilarious. And then I ordered one for my wife because, the one I ordered and gave to her last time was a male fit and also to my size. And she was just like, really? So I ordered her one with just her on it in a female size and cut. So she'll be happy. So far, it looks like I have sold around 15 shirts, all to me. But that's why I do it. So I'm cool with it. Like I was saying earlier, how you doing, Steven? If I ever start getting sick and feel like I'm going to pass, I'm going to print out all of the thumbnails that Cold Iron has ever made for me, arrange them in books so that they look somewhat in chronological order, then have them printed out and give them away to like the people I love the most, so that after I'm gone, they can always open that book up and look at a bunch of cartoons of me slaying carnivorous apes and stuff like that. I think that is probably the most awesome idea I've had in a long time. And Steven, you just showed up. You missed me showing off my Cold Steel sacks. We were talking about Cold Steel, the bore blade. So I got a sax. And this is the generic Northern European, so Vikings and Slavs, etc. Look at that. You can see where they riveted in. I know because I used to do a lot of rivet work, and their rivet work is not that great. I could do rivet better than that. I could ping rivets better, but it's 100% 440 cold or 440. Uh, it's 440 high tensile steel, so spring steel. It's got a like near a 14-inch blade. And this is the weapon you would be able to carry when you're in the village, when they tuck away everything else. And like I said, it's got the loop on it because a lot of times people would use the leather cord and they'd hang it around their neck and wear it like that. But then it's also got the loops here so that you could run your belt through. And you'd hang it mostly, if you're a righty, you would hang it on the left, horizontal with the ground, parallel to the ground, so that if you need to pull it out, it'd just be that quick. This, I do not think, is a dagger, gentlemen. I think that this is a short sword. You know what I mean? I mean, 14-inch blade and then like a 6-inch handle, so a 20-inch weapon. That's like a I mean, I've got a K-bar. I think it's Beckler K-bar, whatever. The BK. I've got the BK9 that I used to take camping all the time, and that's got a 9-inch blade. This thing's got like a 14-inch blade, and the spine of the blade is a 1/4 inch. The sacks, and I know I'm going back and talking about, but because you showed up, Stephen, this is what the Bowie knife was based on. The drop point Bowie. Oh yeah, halfling. This would be a full-on sword for a halfling. I mean, yeah, Unfortunately for halflings, there are no halflings in my world. So, well, there actually kind of are. They're called Chocho men, but they're little evil cannibalistic bastards. You don't want to deal with them. They're not hairy footed. As a matter of fact, most of them don't even have hair. And they live on the plateau of Lang and they worship this pretty much thousands of year old sorcerer they call, the immortal one or their great leader, or, the master. And the plateau of Ling, of course, is hard to get to because it is guarded by the spiders of Ling. And that's a whole nother thing you don't want to deal with if you don't have to. So, yeah, not an easy place to get. There is a story, a Lovecraft story, I believe, where uh, one of the guys actually finds their way to the plateau of Ling. And then there's another set of stories, which it turns out I read these stories, well, listen to them. And it turns out they're Clark Ashton Smith stories about a traveler named Leaf uh, and his best friend is a Cherokee Indian named Jim. And they travel all over the place. And one of the things that they start like speculating in the yeah, the way Lovecraft spelled it is exactly like that, except with a T at the beginning. And that's kind of funny because Chocho in Russian means a little bit. So if you were to ask somebody, do you speak Russian? And they say Chocho, yeah, that means just a little bit. So, did you know that one of Adventures takes place on the moon of Saturn? Which one? Because I've got a lot of them. So, of course, they're in the bedroom because I lay in there and read them. But yeah, I didn't. I either didn't know it, didn't think about it, but I probably do own it. So far, of the adventures that I've written by or specifically for Hyperborea, Rats in the Wall, and the Anthrophagia of oh, there you are. The Anthrophagia of Zimbala have been amazing, really good.
Springtime
I've been a big
for Hitler. Sorry,
fan.
I'm in a really good mood today.
I love that movie. The producers,
Everyone should love that movie, not just you.
I mean, like both versions, but let's be honest, the Gene Wilder Zero Mostel version's the better version.
Correct. Very correct.
But both versions are good.
Come, James, let us repair to the bar across the street.
Right?
I fucking love
They're all
that.
happy, and then when people break for the freaking intermission, everybody's like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. This thing will be on Broadway forever. It's just like, oh, shit.
Fuck.
Yeah. From the same guy who brought you Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, you know? My favorite bit in Young Frankenstein is the monster when he's like sitting there trying to read the newspaper and the woman's like singing and she's like trying to seduce him and he's just like, ugh. You know what I mean? The woman that was supposed to marry Frankenstein.
Yes. Cloris Leachman.
And the monster's just like, ugh. Yeah. The monster's just like, leave me alone, woman. Damn it. I just gave you sweet loving a couple hours ago.
Did you ever see
To
the
quote
movie?
the chef.
You did see the movie Beer Fest, right?
Of course I did.
Okay. That's one of my favorite films with Cloris
Landfill.
Leachman.
Landfill, and of course, my favorite actor, Landfill 2. One of the most covered ones. Well, geez, there's the flying ship, the ghost ship. That might be it. I mean, I know it's not the Hunter's Lament because that one, phew, that one is just full on body horror. Like you show up after some dude's already been infected by zombies and every other bad thing. So yeah, that's not a good one. I mean, it's a good one. It's just Rats in the Walls is pretty dark. You go into the tavern, and the tavern keeper's trying to get you to do the work for him. And part of his explaining to you why he wants the work done is that his infant died of bites, rat bites, and his wife hanged herself in the basement. So would you please help him? He has one child left, She's like a 15-year-old, and she keeps waking up covered in rat bites. And he's pretty convinced that it's only a matter of time before she's dead, too. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that a lot of modern game companies are not going to. They're not going to hit you up like that. I mean, because can you imagine the kind of people who play with cards, like the red card, whatever, and you're sitting there explaining to them how this innkeeper's at his wits' end because, there's a taking of their own life, a self-deletion, and an infant. And that's like the first paragraph of the story. So when people ask me about Hyperborea, as far as what's Hyperborea like compared to modern, D&D and stuff, I'm like, nothing. The vibe is totally different. And then when I was talking to Sean the other day, Mage's Musing, and he was talking about AD&D versus Hyperborea, and I was like, even AD&D will not touch some of the themes that Hyperborea will jump right into. And the reason being is Lovecraft. The second you throw Lovecraft and Clark Ashton Smith and Ari Howard into the mix, shit
Robert
goes
Bloch.
nuts.
Do not forget Robert Bloch.
Who?
Robert Bloch. Okay.
He's not mentioned as one of the main guys, so I'm not 100% sure about him.
He wrote Wet Print.
Oh, okay.
And I forget the name.
Well, yeah, like Lord Dunsany, of course, you got to take him into account because he inspired Lovecraft. So, yes, there's a lot of people you got to take into account if we're going to go far enough back.
But Robert Bloch wasn't.
I think he did the daughter of Elfland, the king of Elfland's daughter.
Yes, I believe it.
And Lovecraft was influenced by him and a couple other guys, like the guy who actually originally wrote The King in Yellow, John something, and he wrote that in like 1800 something. And of course, Lovecraft took the god Hastur and turned him into the Yellow King. So, yeah, there was a lot of borrowing back then for the good of all of us, really. I mean, Clark Ashton Smith almost quit writing because he couldn't sell any of his work, and Lovecraft told him to keep plugging along and that eventually he'd get it, and eventually he got it. So, and in some of the letters between Lovecraft and Ari Howard, they're so funny because they start out with, "My dearest friend and whatever." That's like the first line or so. "My dearest friend and whatever, it is with great joy I write you, blah, blah, blah." And then the second paragraph is like, "But you're retarded if you think." And it's like, they don't literally say retarded, but Howard and Lovecraft's letters, some of them are pretty fiery. They get into it, about just whatever, that they were dealing with at the time. And it's pretty hilarious to hear them, Whereas Clark Ashton Smith, in addition to wanting to write stories, he actually was an occultist. So he in real life believed in Agartha, the Golden Dawn, and all that kind of weird ass shit. That was his jam, baby.
I really can't
I got
say
something
that
kind of for my brother.
I kind of like the idea of Agartha. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I mean, the whole idea of Agartha is just that there's tunnels under the South Pole that lead to an inner cavern Earth thing. It don't even got to be like a hollow Earth. It can just be a giant cavern somewhere.
Yeah.
So these I got and I will have to base them out. And my brother knows why I got them. Multiple reasons, but he knows why.
Woo. You're gonna be doing
And one of the big ones is, huh?
you're gonna be doing a San Antonio miniature diorama. It looks like.
No, actually, as you may know, because I've showed them off multiple times, I've been painting up different forces for Vietnam. So, like, for my Americans, I've got infantry, 113s, a couple of tanks, a couple of helicopters, 3 helicopters. And then I've got NVA and Viet Cong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Viet Cong are pretty easy to paint too, because you just paint them the darkest gray you got, and then tan flesh, and then paint the AK or the SKS handle like a walnut color and call it a day. One of the hard covered ones, I would say you're talking about the one with the flying ship on it. Yeah. So, but it doesn't surprise me at all, given that in the Hyperborean setting, you can actually travel. You can travel to Saturn. And humans can survive on the surface of Saturn. Unless something there kills and eats you, which is entirely possible. Also, finding food and water is going to be an issue, since a lot of the rivers on Saturn actually run with mercury. So, one of the ways to get water on Saturn is to actually extract it from the fungus that grows there. But, you know, if your characters aren't very smart, then they might get in a lot of trouble there. So for free, Reaper sent me a couple of miniatures this month, and this is one. It's a water Nairi. And I'm kind of wondering if I want to take like a really, really watered down blue, like a blue contrast, but then water it down even and go over her to give her like a bluish kind of a clear but kind of blue look.
That'd be awesome. Would recommend.
Huh?
Would recommend.
Now, I'm going to tell you another thing, right? Serpent men in the Hyperborea book have snake tails. Serpent men in the Conan role-playing game have human legs. This has been messing me up for like a week. I've been in the middle of some kind of weird, like, quandary. So I think what I'm going to rule is that they can have either. Plus, in the Conan game, which is a lot earlier than the Hyperborean game, the Serpent Men, who are great scientists, have been creating hybrid Serpent Men that are like as big as ogres and shit like that. They're pretty stupid, but that's not, that's kind of the point of them, is they serve the actual wizard Serpentman. And every Serpentman has an innate power that allows them to appear as a human. Unless there's a charm that a human can learn a spell. And if you say the spell out loud in the presence of a Serpentman, it'll force them to take their natural form, right? But one of the things Lovecraft posits is that since basically human civilization, all of our societies have been infiltrated by Serpent Men. And he's actually got a whole story about it,
I believe David Icke read the same story.
That is exactly, it's so funny that you said that. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I wonder if David Icke read that story and decided, you know what? I'm going with it.
Probably after he failed at being America's or the world's new Messiah, he probably decided, let me get back to this. Then,
Well, I didn't know he tried to be a messiah. I did know that he used to be a hockey announcer or soccer, not hockey, soccer. So he was like a hockey commentator, and he was actually pretty, I guess, liked. But then he started with the Serpent Man thing, and people got really mad. I know they got really mad. They kicked him out of Canada because the people protesting said that when he says Serpent Man, what he's actually saying is Jewish person, which Dave Icke swears up and down is simply not a thing that he literally does mean reptilians. He is not trying to do some kind of clever, no, wink, wink. No, he says, no, it's not some wink, wink, nod, nod bullshit. I mean, Serpent Man. But a lot of the people who hate him, they say he actually means Jewish people, which, I mean, I've listened to some of David Icke's speeches, and I don't get it, but hey, unless you're the kind of person who thinks that there's some small group of humans that rules everything on the whole planet, then maybe you might draw that line. But that's simply not what David Icke says. He's talking about these serpent men who may or may not be somehow attached with the Anunnaki. And so he's talking like way back before any of this. And that they live underground and they come out, do their thing, and they can make illusions that make humans think that they're real, that they're humans. I mean, okay, let's see what the private message is.
it's just a YouTube link going to when David Icke tried to convince us all that he was the new Messiah.
Yeah, see, I missed that part, and that's probably good because I would have immediately been like, nope. So, if he wants to talk about weird cryptid serpent men that may or may not be interfering with human society, I'm a little more open minded. But if he wants to try to claim to be the new Messiah, I am immediately not open minded at all. So I would say to Mr. Ike, if he's still alive, because I know he's a pretty old guy, he's got to pick his lane. You know what I'm saying?
Like 70.
And the funny thing is, the reptilian thing, that is an actual cryptid that those cryptologist type guys talk about.
Have you ever looked
So
at Skateboard
why
Swamp?
David Icke?
Have you ever looked
No.
at the legend of the lizard man of Skateboard Swamp in South Carolina? It's got like 10 or,
No.
10 or 12 sightings, actual damage on minivans that have been through there. It's an actual thing. They actually have seen fucking a lizard man in South Carolina, and there's people that scream and protest like this is real. Skateboard Swamp lizard man. Very impressive set of videos. If you're an open-minded person, you're like, maybe Bigfoot's real. Well, here's another cryptid that's out there.
Well, see, the thing is, the story, especially in eastern parts of Kentucky, like Hellier and stuff like that,
The goblin.
they talk about not the goblin, but that is one of the things. Which I think goblins were probably just the moon-eyed people the Cherokee talk about. That were supposed to be short and pale and have really big eyes and only come out at night, blah, blah, blah. But according to rumor, myth, and maybe outright lies, I don't know, the United States government throughout the 70s was sending teams of operators into the deep dungeons, the deep caverns under the mines there. and that these dudes were getting into it with reptilian beings under there.
Where did you hear this at?
And there is a kind of a mock-you documentary called Hellier, Kentucky.
Okay. Is that in the second season?
It's like
the first season.
It's like a 3-part thing. They get into it. It all starts out. Remember, the thing all starts out because the guys in question get a letter from a guy telling them about this special forces operation that had been going on. They can't find any information about the guy who sent the letter. So they go and they find out a bunch of crazy ass shit. And supposedly there were soldiers that actually died during these operations, but the government claimed they died in training accidents, but they actually were casualties of this thing that was going on down there. Also, another supposedly is that that's the reason certain mines were shut down. Because, if you go too deep, the old dwarven saying, right? Dig until you hit evil.
Yes.
That's not really their dwarven saying, but yeah. I believe it's the hard-covered module that has the flying, glowing Viking ship shooting through the air. I'm almost willing to bet that's the one we're talking about. So, yeah, Jeff Talanian said when I talked to him last that he was thinking about not doing T-shirts. So the fact that I sent him a T-shirt, I think, is going to be funny. Hey, James of Hyperborea. Now the new ones, howdy Texan. The new thumbnail is James of the Dreamlands. And it has me and my dog walking down the road in the Dreamlands, looking around, and everything's weird because it's the Dreamlands. And it's all because Cold Iron's character tried to rob me, so I tied him to a tree and left him, and he got found by cultists of, I think, Cthulhu, and they turned him into some kind of freakish monster. And according to the thumbnails, he and I and his minions have been in fights multiple times now. He's a reoccurring villain. And in the last one, where it was James of Hyperborea, it shows me and the dog getting swept through a portal, kind of Army of Darkness style, and he's the one casting the portal, And then when we land, we're standing on the hillside, and it's James of not Hyperborea. And I sent him a message. I was like, "Am I back in Appalachia?" And he's like, "Oh, no." And I said, "Please, God, don't make it be Ohio." He's like, "No, don't worry about that. It's not Ohio." All the guys from Kentucky get that joke.
That would have been like, it's far worse.
Whoever
It's
you sent
LA.
me on a portal. Oh, God. LA. You know what? I think I would rather be in Ohio. One of the worst songs ever happens in LA. Actually, many of the worst songs ever happened there, but this one is, I forget who does it, but the song is like, all I want to do is have some fun. And it's basically just chicks singing about hanging out in a bar with some dude and drinking while everyone else is working and going about their lives. And I just really, really always kind of hated that song. With her, all I want to do is have some fun. It's like, get a job. Sitting in the bar all day watching people, work. What's wrong with you? But now there is a good song about LA by Maynard. And the chorus is Sink or Swim. And he's basically kind of hoping that LA will fall off the earth into the ocean. and Arizona become the
I
new
really can't
coast.
complain with that idea. I like the
Yeah.
idea of that happening. I
Well,
know
Maynard
it's not very
does.
Christian-like, but whatever.
Yeah, and he refers to LA as like a den of depravity and whatever. And like the chorus, which the way he does his music, he always mixes the chorus low, and you can just make it out saying "sink or swim, sink or swim, sink or swim."
You'll
He
never
was on
find
his
a more wretched hive
and
of
then
scum and villainy.
I'll tell you what, Philadelphia, yeah, Philadelphia, man, the city of brotherly meth addiction. So I found a set of rules from two fat
Look,
lardies that I
James, it's a nerdy
downloaded.
goblin.
It is. But I like to just call him the Texas Goblin. Since we have Kentucky Goblins, they may as well have Texas Goblins. Actually, as
What's up,
hairy
my
as he
neighbor?
is, he might be the Texas Sasquatch.
No, we have one
I
of
don't
those
know
in
what
Houston.
just happened there.
I'm just saying, like,
Oh,
we
the
got plenty of
Houston
Bigfoot
Sasquatch?
outside of town. Houston's got Sasquatch.
Oh,
They got the piney woods and they got Sasquatch over there. We don't really have a whole lot of reports here. We got one report from over by Bastrop, and then there's another report of another sighting in Spring Branch, and then further south towards the actual north loop of 1604. But I've not seen a lot of reports of Sasquatch here. As long as he stays over in Houston, that's all I want. Because I want a dog, and I don't want to have
right.
my dog go missing.
Well, in Kentucky, the Sasquatch type creature, the Cherokee called the hairy man, and unlike the gentle giant of the Northwest wilderness, the hairy man is a brutal asshole that will kill and eat you.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cherokee had been talking about him for a while. But I mean, as far as appearance and everything, Sasquatch. Except apparently something about Appalachia just makes him meaner. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's a
They're like, I'm tired of, hey, I got a miniature that you had bought before.
whew, I love me some Marilith.
Is, I think I was talking about one of the most like interesting of all the demons or whatever, devils or whatever. And I think the reason is because of how similar they look to Kali.
Yes.
If you were to cut her off and put her on a set of legs, I mean, this would be Kali.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big part.
But I
There's
like,
some other demons I think that are kind of interesting, like the Babao and stuff, but what were you gonna say, Tim?
come on, Tim. I really like the Marilith. I like the fact she's got a tail. Since third edition, she's had one of the abilities that I believe is super important. It's called crushing coils. She gets her tail around somebody, and now they're struggling to stay awake because her tail puts them to sleep. I love it. That's one of my favorite things about the Marilith. And she gets a hold of your wizard, which she easily can do with her heightened movement rate and her ability to cut through all of your fucking frontline defenders. She can get to your juicy little wizard in the back, and once he goes away, it's probably game over for your party.
See, in my game, because they did fight a Marilith at one point, that would have been the worst thing she could have done, tactically. And the reason for that is in Hyperborea, The Marilith has a 14 and 20 chance to just ignore magic. So the Cryomancer and the Witch and even the Warlock cast every kind of magic spell they could think of at her for a while. And I kid you not, she made every save for her magic resistance. So not only did they lose the spells, but they didn't even go off. It was just like, yep, magic does not work near this biatch. And then she gated in another demon,
Bring me another Marilith.
which was of rock. What's that?
That just makes me laugh because I've got a really badass rock assassin that I bring in from time to time on my Czar gang, the guys that are playing with us tomorrow. And
Right.
that rock has killed like 2 or 3 characters so far this campaign. Granted, they come back because we have
Well,
a
they're no
pirate,
joke.
but still.
They're no joke because of the thing that had my party so upset about the rock is it flies. And where they were fighting it, it had room to fly around. So the rock was literally flying up and then doing ranged attacks. And every time somebody would try to run or get to it, it would just fly to another location. And I mean, it was trying to hold its distance. And then the Marilith has such a high armor class, at least in the version of the game I'm talking about, that a lot of them were like, I mean, she's got like a -10, right?
Okay.
And think, AD&D armor classes, -10. That would mean, just to like make it a little easy to conceive, a first level fighter would need a 29 to hit her, which means you're not hitting her. And of course she's got a whole list of spells and spell like abilities and a million attacks, so it's kind of like, the mages, the whole battle, the mages were completely useless. They did nothing in the whole battle. Not a damn thing did they do.
One of the things I like to do with Marilith is that she grabs a hold of your wizard or your cleric and she puts them to sleep, and then she uses them like a body shield and adds another 4 points of shield bonus to her armor class because she's got this guy that she's pivoting around in front of him. So the fighters and everybody, they got to learn how to flank and outflank her and outmaneuver her to where she can't do that so quickly. I love it.
See, that's just mean.
No, it's not.
It's kind of is.
No, that
So the class 5 greater demon, 6-armed demon with the lower body of a reticulated snake, with a nude upper female torso, and in the book we even show some boobies here. Catcha.
Take care, brother.
They adorn themselves with jewelry of no less than 2,000 gold piece value. They stand 7 to 8 feet tall with a 15 to 20 foot tail. Let's see here. So she gets an extra +2 to hit. So that means she hits on a +10. She can beckon another demon on a 3 and 6. She's immune to mundane weapons. Takes half damage from cold, electricity, and fire. And if she makes a save, a quarter damage. A wizard body pillow, right? 14 and 20 sorcery resistance. And that's against spells, magic abilities, and sorceress devices. So even wands. she can just be like, nah, that shit ain't working near me. And then she's got a whole list of spells she can cast. Cause fear, charm person, darkness, decipher language, detect invisibility, infrared vision, levitate, polymorph self, project image, pyrotechnics, teleport without error. And for her physical stuff, she gets 7 attacks every round. 6 of them are with weapons, and then 1 is a tail whip. And the tail whip does 2 dice 6. The weapons do 1 die 8 plus 2. And that means she must have a strength of at least 14.
So, with campaign
Plus two.
run, the Mariliths, the parties fought. The standard boilerplate Marilith has, in a full round action, they can do 10 attacks. They have 5 offhand weapon attacks. She has the tail slap and squeeze. And then she gets the primary attack from her primary weapon. And then she gets 3 extra attacks from that. So actually 11.
A wizard body.
She gets 10 attacks. And if she decides
Okay.
not to do that, she goes into spell casting, which are typically when she shows up in battle, she's already got the spells cast. And so she's got
Right.
shit like, haste, blessing of fervor on her, stuff like that to just augment her
Right.
already impressive stats. They're considered a CR 18. I always bump them up to a 19 and give them expanded spell usage because there's no need for them to go into a game gimped. Because if you're playing against a bunch of 18th level players, those guys are kind of optimized. If they're at 18th level, nobody really makes it 18th level and is like, I don't have a ladder. I don't have enough torches for this. I don't have no, motherfucker. They've got the magic shop in their portable hole right now. And they've got the ability to yoink it all out at a given moment's time. So, like I said, tail slap the whip.
Hyperborea 12 is the highest level.
12.
12.
I'm trying not.
Yep.
I'm trying not to look disgusted. Do higher.
Once you hit level 12, you have just about capped out.
Mm-mm. No, sir.
And you stop getting hit points at 9.
I know that's patterned off of old D&D.
It is. And you know why? Because adding more numbers doesn't make a game better.
You be quiet.
Saying that somebody can go to level 38 doesn't make the game better.
Hold on,
It's just a different thing.
James. Okay,
It's not necessarily better or worse,
so
right?
so
So in a world where you can only go to level 12, the Marilith I talked about is an absolute beast. But in the world where you can go to level 30 or whatever you can go, the Marilith I talked about, you're going to think, well, that's weak as shit. You see what I mean?
mhm.
It's all just the difference in like the innate power levels of everything, right? And Hyperborea tends to have a little bit lower power level, but because of the way the game is designed, it's still deadlier than shit because the players are not superhuman. They're also they're just as weak as everything else is. As a matter of fact, some of the monsters are actually stronger than they are in other versions of games, despite the fact that the players are a bit weaker. And a great example of that, the one I bring up all the time, is the orc. The Hyperborean orc is much stronger than the D&D orc, while the Hyperborean Slayer is weaker. Club me, yeah. That's kind of like a weird thing with Japanese video games. I remember the first time I played like Final Fantasy, and you had like your fighter would have like 150,000 hit points and do spells that would do tens of thousands of damage. And in my mind, being Western minded, I guess, I always thought, why not drop a bunch of those zeros? I mean, does it really matter that you did 1,009 damage? You could drop like 3 of those zeros and just say you did 100 damage or 10 damage. But for some reason, the Japanese, especially, are incredibly fond of big numbers for everything. And you see that to this day, like in every kind of Japanese game that's out there, really. You know, the players always have just shit tons of hit points. Of course, they lose them super quick too. And so then the reality of that becomes, like I'm arguing, what's the point? If you have 1,000 hit points, but the first monster you encounter does 2,000, then does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. It's just all, and that's what I'm saying to you, Bruce. There are, though, however, some people psychologically think the big numbers actually do generate something in the brains of the players, that they just prefer the big number. It makes them feel like they've accomplished more in their life or something, you know?
I mean,
And I would say that could be true. I mean, because the popularity of Japanese games shows us that, you know, there might be something to that. Final Fantasy is an incredibly popular game, and so yeah, there might be something to that.
so I have a player that's in our chat right now. We got Nerdy with us. His character's got like 150 hit points, 10th level.
Nice.
And my game doesn't really have a cap on hit die. So if he gets up to 36 level, he'll have 36 D12 plus his con bonus as his hit die. When he's tapped out, when he's completely up. And that's pretty cool. That's really cool. We got into a fight about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and somebody that was really proficient with their weapon got into a fight with him. And within like 2 swings, I dropped him down to like a handful, like less than 5 or less hit points. And he was starting to have his butt pucker. Now, mind you, my party runs around with the cleric all the time, and therefore she was able to help heal our friend up. But he almost passed. In fact, the half orc went for another swipe. I believe he missed him only by 3 percentage points. So the ogre, or nerdy ogre, counting his blessings. But if you have a system that supports getting into that wacky amount of numbers and wacky amount of damage, play it. You might really enjoy it. Some people want just a D8.
Well, Hyperborea does that.
How so?
Well, the Marilith in Hyperborea, the fact that the Marilith can attack 7 times for 1d8 plus 2 damage, if she hits, and she probably will at plus 10 to hit, right? You say your average fighter's got armor class at 2, so she literally needs a 10 to hit, right? That could be 7 die 8 plus 14 damage.
Yeah.
A fighter's on a die 10 hit die. If he's level 7 or 8, how many hit points does he really have?
I gotta ask, does Hyperborea have exploding die damage?
It does not, thank God, because everyone would just die. Like nonstop. It would be a nonstop make a new character game.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Because you would run into something, especially something with that many attacks. Every time it rolls its damage, the chances of an exploding die, you know, you might get 1 or 2. And then the next thing you know, instead of doing an average of, let's say, 4 times 7, so 28 plus 14, so 42 damage on the average. If you threw exploding dice in, Yeah, that would mincemeat level 6 to 8 characters in one round. They'd just be dead.
Stop complaining. They're
And
bad motherfuckers for a reason.
yeah, but the thing is, at the end of the day, Bruce, it's also a game. So while the creature does have a really good chance of killing players, it really does.
Should.
You don't want it to be so good at killing players
CR
that the players literally just have no chance.
to CR 12 in your games, to CR 18 in mine, it should have a noticeable chance to put people back on their heels. Like,
Well, it did.
even when I run it in Pathfinder, my players test the waters first and see if they can get a couple spells off. And if their fucking initial round of spellcasting smacks against its spell resistance and fails, they're out of there. They do not hang out. They do not congregate. Let's attack with more numbers. No, they treat her like a beholder and GTFO. Time to leave.
Yeah, that would have been nice for them, but they couldn't do that.
Oh, sad.
They had broken into a keep where this demon had been bound. The demon could not leave the keep, but the players spent all their time breaking into the keep. And the thing is, it's a 4-story castle, but the entire center of it was open from the roof all the way to the inner courtyard, right? And then all the rooms are built around that center with stairs leading up to like balconies and stuff. So when they actually got down to about the second floor, because it hid from them, and it started kind of giggling and talking to them, like, getting in their heads and shit, right? It was too late. There was no leaving. I mean, because one, they're not going to outrun it just because of the way things work. And two, it summoned the Vrock, which of course could use that entire center area to just fly up and down and here and there and do whatever the hell it wanted to do. So they spent so chasing this fucking thing just to try to get it cornered enough so that somebody could try and hit it.
They should spend a
Luckily
fuck ton
for
of time.
them, eventually, and they survived because the cleric in the group kept them up. Eventually, luckily for them, the berserker went into the Vindo form, which is the Bearman form, and managed to corner her. Now she has 8 die, 8 hit die plus a bonus. And I rolled them out, and she had pretty good hit die. But the berserker in Vindo form in like 3 rounds killed it. Because the berserker can do that. That's what they do. That's actually the only thing they do. They berserk out. And of course, they're kind of dangerous to have in a group because after whatever they're fighting dies, they have to make a check to not just immediately move on and start killing everything else near them. So, there's a little bit of that too, right? But what I'm talking about, or what we were kind of discussing a little bit, and I'm sure people in the chat, they probably fall on either side of this debate. It really comes down though to what is a power level, right? Because in a game like 3rd edition, you just simply cannot compare power levels with a game like AD&D. You're talking 2 entirely different formulas.
You got class AD&D head and shoulders. There's no comparison.
And since almost every Heartbreaker out there, which is what I call, all the games based on AD&D, Heartbreakers, is, or OSRs, let's say, is based on AD&D. So many of them have the AD&D power level where you're going to stop leveling or gaining hit points at 9 or 10. Shit's just going to be away. Now, if you're playing, like I said, WotC D&D and stuff like that, now all of a sudden you're in a whole different power level. art style probably has more to do with it than anything as far as gameplay or what games you choose. I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't 100% disagree. I mean, the main reason I do not care for Mork Borg is the art style because it's too in your face. The cover of it is. It's just too, look at us, you know. Whereas the game that I run, Club, is look how like understated the art actually is. You've got this giant ass weird obsidian pillar or whatever it is, and there's some cultist at the very top of it casting. He's got a fire lit, so he's doing a ritual. And then all around him, you have these cosmic horrors that don't actually look like anything we would even know, right? And then when you flip it over, not only is it more cosmic horrors, but you got good old Cthulhu or Thulu or Cthulhu, however we're going to say it today, front, right there, front and lower looking. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here.
I really just can't stand
It's
Mork Borg.
understated, but it's still whatever.
I can't
Whereas,
do
like,
Mork
if you look
Borg.
at 5th edition, you've got a dwarf cleric leaping at a giant, and the giant's face is like way bigger than the dwarf cleric even is. And you're like, what's she leaping off of? What's she doing? I mean, what's going on there, right?
5th edition and
But then
Mork
you
Borg
look at-
are the same.
Well, look at the player's cover for Hyperborea.
But that looks
You've
good.
got a wizard, a fighter, and a barbarian, and they found a wrecked starship full of crabmen, and they're in a deep, dark, swampy forest getting ready to get jumped by a big effing spire. And yes, that is a downed starship. And if you look really close in there, those are the skeletal remains of crabmen. Because on Hyperborea, the crabmen have a civilization that is very advanced, and occasionally they shoot starships to wherever the hell they go, right?
Like,
And then on the back, you've got front and top Sagwa, the main god humans worship, and then the 3 players. Of course, the one player is totally different looking. She's got like the demon armor, and instead of the sword, she's got the axe.
mhm.
The other guy, though, I mean, come on, let's be honest, that's Conan. But he's got broadsword and a mace. And then you got
Even
standard
Kevin's like,
wizard.
play that shit. That's astonishing swordsmen and sorcerers of Hyperborea. Play that shit, James.
I do.
He said.
So, and then the lady, believe it or not, is a paladin. Of what god, I have no idea.
You know, I just
No.
treat Mork Borg the same way I treat 5e. I stay away from those tables. Those tables are potholes. I swerve.
What
I've
tables?
tried watching Mork Borg before. I've tried watching 5e before. 5e reminds me of a gathering where you have a pounding sensation in your ass and you don't really want to be there. It's not pleasant. Mork Borg.
I'll take
just
your word
remind-
for it since you were in the Navy. So
Mork Borg reminds me of a time where like people that had too much responsibility smoked a lot of pot and they made a shitty product. And I just can't look at Mork Borg the same way. And I know that sounds like I'm hateful, but yeah, I am. I absolutely hate
see,
5e.
Mork Borg is what happens when a whatever you would even call them, a commune full of artists get together and decide to make a role-playing game. Because that's what they all are. They're all avant-garde artists deep down inside. That's what they want to be, right?
If you want to
But-
say that.
But they're using
I feel like
the
I'm
game
arguing
to
with Janet
sell
about
the
her favorite
art.
movie now.
I need
Yes,
to
we
plug
both
my
agree.
computer in.
We both agree they're gay.
Right. And that's kind of what they do. They're like, we made a game and it has like a bunch of crazy freaking art in it. Because really we're artists, not game makers. I can't believe I didn't plug my computer in when I brought it in here. And now it's all like, hey, man, I'm hungry, bro. She'll be happy now.
You know what you ought to do for your people that play Hyperborea with you? You ought to do a sit-down tabletop adventure campaign of Tropic Thunder with them.
I'm the dude being a dude, pretending to be another dude.
Such a good movie.
That's funny, but I mean, my Hyperborea game, believe it or not, is actually played straight. I mean, it is not. While there are jokes to be had in the game, usually at the expense of one of the players doing something really stupid. Yeah, I play my game straight, and Hyperborea is not, in spite of what some people might wrongly try to mislead you into believing, a Gonzo game. It is not Gonzo. There's nothing Gonzo in Hyperborea. It is sword and sandals. So if you like Conan, you're gonna like Hyperborea. If you prefer Tolkien, then Hyperborea is not going to be your thing. And for many reasons that we've talked about. One, there's no demi-humans except dwarves, and they're a bunch of S-ang little assholes. There's not a lot of grand heroic anything in Hyperborea. It really is a more down in the mud and poop kind of game where the players are just trying to survive and gain a bunch of wealth. A lot of times, maybe just so that they can retire or do whatever the hell they want to do. But like that, because of the way they depict the neutral class in Hyperborea, good and evil becomes a lot more fuzzy.
I'm sorry.
Right?
Your description of Hyperborea just now reminds me of this is a D&D version of Magic Mike, because everybody's adventuring only to retire and have a garage where they get to do the things they really want to do. Because that's the entire goal of the movies Magic Mike and Magic Mike Double XL. Because all the guys, they hate getting out in front of a bunch of miserable, drunken twats and writhing all over them and wasting an evening trying to scrounge up $150. They hate that.
I've never seen those movies, so I don't know anything about them.
You should. They're really good movies because the entire goal of Magic Mike is to retire, to not have to do this shit tomorrow. Like all the guys, like they're tired of it. Fichtner, Matt McConaughey, the little fucking gay kid from the G.I. Joe movies, all that shit. They're all desiring an exit. We're done. And it's a good series of movies. You watch those movies with your wife so she can understand you. You don't need to do that because you're already retired. But us working fucks, we have to sit down with our girlfriends or wives and show them these movies. And initially like, oh my God, I get to watch Magic Mike. My boyfriend wants me to watch this movie with him. And they sit down and watch it. And when the dialogue starts and the guys are like, God, I hate this life. What do you, wait, how could he hate this? I have to do this every night. I have to get on stage with an inflated dick with about $400 worth of pills in me every month so I can get out there, have an inflated fucking testicle ready to go to blow at any moment. And I have to writhe on fat girls that are having their 50th birthday or their 20th wedding anniversary and their girls' night out. I have to wiggle on them every night. And I get back to my room and I smell like a Jezebel my fucking self. I do this 7 nights a week, 52 weeks a year. And I can't wait to retire and go home to my garage and build my boat and sail out to the middle of the lake and explode so I can sink to the bottom of the lake and die.
Yeah, you just described like every dude I ever worked with in the fire department, except they didn't hate their job. Are your other games not played straight? And he put a rainbow there. Nerdy. Yes. Because when I ran Cyberpunk like 4 years ago, I ran Cyberpunk, and my wife's character ended up doing coke and making out with another female character in the bathroom of a club. But like I said, the ladies at my table, they're the ones that's really cool looking. They're the ones that actually really get into the role play part of the game. I mean, for sure, you know. Some of the guys do, but the ladies, once they know what their character's about, they figure out what's up, they tend to go all in on it. You know what I mean? And in this particular case, my wife was playing a solo, and for whatever reason, she become attracted to a reporter for the Night City News. And yeah, they were at a club and they were doing, well, not actual coke. They were doing like what they call Nova Coke, but you know, they were doing nose candy and making out in the bathroom. That's not very straight. But it is something that happened. Yes. I do not have a game where there are no gay people if there's an actual reason for there to be gay people. But I also don't shoehorn them into games, you know, when there's no reason for it. So when I play modern games, there's a lot more of a chance actually that the players may be or encounter somebody that's living an alternative lifestyle. Just because, you know, it's a lot more acceptable. But if I'm running a game set in 9th century Poland, that's probably not going to be a real thing, since if you got found out, you'd probably be burned at the stake or something. But Pirates of, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't want to hate on Mörk Borg 100%. I just, the art. I did not like the art at all. So it is what it is. I find a lot of the art in Hyperborea to be a lot more grounded, despite the fact that the stuff it's depicting is like weird aliens and cosmic horrors. And, you know, you got a guy dressed up in a Roman legionnaire uniform firing a laser gun at an ape man. You would think that would be some crazy shit, but just the way the art is done, it looks as normal as it can be. You know, it just looks like, yeah, this is a thing that is happening right now. And, you know, of course, you got to ask yourself, does that Roman legionnaire in the picture have any idea what he's even using? Right? He might just think it's some kind of weird wand that he found and he can use it. Because, you know, it's kind of like when I have my little talk about 40K and people, you know, people have lots of thoughts about 40K. 40K is hard science. And I know a lot of people will be like, wait, what? But it is. There's nothing in 40K that is like not something that has been theorized by modern day physicists and stuff like that today. Higher dimensions, alternate dimensions, you know, creatures made of energy, all of that shit is shit that physicists and people like that thought about, right? Faster than light travel, you can argue, is always going to be a hand wavium thing. But the thing people forget when they talk about 40K is sorcerers are not magic users. They're psychics. And psychers are psychers. And they live in a time where no one understands technology. So when you read a book that is describing stuff from inside the world, yeah, it seems like really weird. Like, what do you mean I got to pray to the machine spirits and blah, 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 right? But if you step outside of the world and look in and realize the people describing the technology have no effing clue how any of it works because, they've lost that knowledge. Then all of a sudden, a las rifle is a las rifle. It's just some high tech weapon that fires a concentrated pulse of radiation at an opponent. The bolt gun. We have bolt guns now. All it is a 30 millimeter grenade launcher. That's what a bolt gun is. It's a 30 millimeter grenade launcher. Except it fires, different types of ammo, whatever, right? Power armor. There's nothing saying we won't have functional power armor within the next 100 years. There's literally the things in 40K are actually anachronistic. A Lehman Russ tank is powered by a gasoline engine, and on some worlds they're powered by steam boilers. It's almost like in a lot of ways in 40K their technology has declined to levels lower than our current technology.
It has.
And like I said, you've got that whole priesthood, and all they do is circle jerk around trying to make sure they can keep, spaceships and the Golden Throne functioning. Because if they lose that, then that's it. That's the end of everything, right? So, yeah. 40K is actually probably just as hard sci-fi, maybe more so than Star Trek, and definitely more than Star Wars. But it's just the way it's described. Oh, it's like Dune, which they robbed from, like wholesale. The idea, yeah. Games Workshop stole from Dune something terrible, and that's why you have navigators and all that kind of crap. And like in Dune, the navigators are special mutants that can actually guide a starship. Except in Dune, they were mutants that could calculate all of the heavenly bodies so quick that they could keep a ship from running into it. That's before they retconned how Dune worked. And in Traveler, or not Traveler, in 40K, they're beings that can see the Golden Throne, and they use their location as it correlates with where the Golden Throne is to try to triangulate where they're going through the warp, right? And then Traveler does the exact same thing, except it uses a machine to do it. On a Traveler starship, you have navigation computers that will enter in, which is what Star Wars does, right? You got to get the navigation codes in the computer going. Otherwise, we could fly through a sun or, and that'd end your trip real fast, wouldn't it? To quote Han Solo. So, yeah. But I think what happens, Bruce, is that characters in Hyperborea, because they don't go as high of level, they get their abilities in a much more concentrated way.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
Because, in third edition, part of the whole thing with third edition is every level you got something. That was how that game was built. And in Hyperborea, while every level you may not get something, on the levels when you do get stuff, you tend to get some really important shit. right? Well, no, every level you might get a bonus to your fighting ability or your casting ability, or thief skills might go up or whatever. But uh, so yeah, in Hyperborea, because you've only got the 12 or so levels, when things go up, they tend to go up by a lot more. Whereas, like with Wizards of the Coast, they take more time with it because they have time, you know? Like in Wizards of the Coast, you would consider a average fighter to be like an average level would be like 10. In Hyperborea, it's 5. So yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, I mean, my games typically every 3 to 5 months we level up. It's not an instant level up. Like 1 week, I'll give you your bonuses for your saves and your new hit points. A week or two later, I give you your skills. A week or after that, you get your feat choices. If you get edges, you get that a week after that. It's staggered because I don't want to
Right.
overwhelm the players. I'm going to write that specifically for the GMG. Like for you game masters out there, do not overwhelm players with analysis paralysis. Spoon feed them small stuff. That way we can keep going and keep the game going longer.
Right. See, in Hyperborea, there's really no analysis paralysis because they don't get to choose. If you're playing a barbarian, how you're going to track all the way up to max level is pretty much laid out. I mean, even at first level, you have certain abilities and you're just going to get better at them. And you may learn a couple new ones here and there, but not so much that you're going to be like, oh, wow, you know? I mean, it's like with the thief. A first level thief can basically do everything a 12th level thief can do, basically, except the 12th level thief is just way better at it. And that's kind of the deal, you know? Like with the Berserker, they can Berserk at level 1. At level 6, they can Berserk twice. So it's still the same ability, they just can use it. So yeah. There are some things though you only get at higher levels, but you know, like the witch being able to make her broom into a mount that she can fly around on, that only happens at like 7th level. And mages are alchemists from 1st level, but in order to make potions, they have to hire an actual alchemist profession to help them with all the mixing and everything. However, at 7th level, they no longer need help. So as soon as your spellcaster hits 7th level, they don't have to hire an alchemist to help them make potions. They can just do it. And also, every magic user class in Hyperborea can read and write scrolls from level 1. You know, from level 1. They don't have to wait to be a certain level. They don't have to give up XP. They can just do it because they're magic users, right? It's kind of like Detect Magic. A lot of your magic user magician classes in Hyperborea can just look at an item and study it and tell if it's enchanted or not. I mean, they still need identify, but yep, dark gothic science, exactly. And the gothic part of 40K is the religiosity of the setting. That's what makes it gothic. You know, the one guy that wanted to do everything he could to destroy religion become the center of a new religion. That's the irony of the emperor, right? Which is only the surface level irony, because the real irony of the emperor is he knew for a fact that there were deities and demons and shit like that. And when he told humanity there were not, and he convinced the humans to all stop believing in their gods and become atheists, he was lying. And he knew he was lying. And his best friend, the one old dude who had been a priest before he started serving the emperor, also knew he was lying. Malkador, the Sigillite, he knew the emperor was lying. The emperor was freaking lying. Everybody didn't know that, obviously. But his idea of the Enlightenment and all this bullshit, it was all a big thing for him to weaken the powers of chaos, since they feed on the power of belief. And it nearly worked until it didn't. So there you go. Yep. It nearly worked right up until it didn't. Do 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 do. All right, come on now, Bruce. Have some opinions.
I'm
About
sorry.
40K gaming.
Oh, no. I'm not falling asleep. I'm doing calculations. So I'm trying to make sure I've got this right. I've got a new algorithm set up for my game, so I can do durations right.
No.
And so, like, whenever people are raging or casting a spell or doing something, I can properly have it to where I know how long it's going to last. And
That can be an issue.
I just came up with it because to me, I needed something that would work for me. I needed that to happen.
Oh yeah, dude. I have a thing that I use. I might even have one laying around on the table because I keep finding them all over the damn place. Let's see. Yep, there's one. I got these when I bought the Conan boxed game.
Yes.
It's these right here.
Ooh.
They're just the right size for a 25mm round player character base to sit in.
Yes.
I have them in all kinds of different colors. So when a player berserks, which happens quite a bit because I have a berserker, I just put her character in this little ring and I set a die aside with the number of rounds or turns that this is going to happen. And that way, everyone at the table knows, right? Or I have an assassin who likes to become invisible a lot because she's got a ring of invisibility. Well, every time she turns that ring on, I just put a yellow base on her, and everyone knows from then on that she is invisible.
Okay.
And more importantly, though, it reminds me that she is invisible.
James?
Because, I mean, you know how it is as a DM when you got like 100 things going on.
You forget stuff. It's okay.
Yeah, sometimes I did that with my brother, and boy, he was a little salty about it because he told me he was going to charge the nearest monkey man, and I'm being literal. That's what they were fighting, 8 men.
Oh, no. Hey, here
smack
comes
it in the
BLM.
Well, these things were, think like Homo habilis. They're about the size of a chimpanzee. And they were about halfway between being a chimp and a human. So some kind of degraded human or maybe uplifted ape type thing.
So a really advanced Somali migrant in Minnesota.
I knew you were going to go there. Like I keep telling everybody, you're not allowed to play Hyperborea unless you go out and you buy a shit ton of ape miniatures. I mean, every kind of ape miniature. You need carnivorous apes and silverbacks. You might even need old King Kong up here, which, of course, I've got.
Nice.
And you're going to need Neanderthals. You're going to need cavemen of every type because Hyperborea is inhabited by these things. Yes. So in other role-playing games where you would normally have goblins or hobgoblins, in Hyperborea, you've got ape men and Neanderthals and shit like that. I'm half tempted to go to Big Mr. Tong and order a bunch of the freaking what were they called? Slee stacks.
Oh.
because Big Mister Tonks sells 28 millimeter sleeve stacks. Just you know, have something like that. The other thing, if you use miniatures in your role playing game, you're going to need, if you're playing Hyperborea, is dinosaurs. You're
I
not
have
going to
dinosaurs.
need a lot of them, but you will need them.
You know who has
Because
dinosaurs for
everything in
sale?
Hyperborea they call a dragon is actually a dinosaur.
No. Everything that was a dinosaur previously was called a dragon in our world.
Right.
I must say that if you're thirsting for some new dinosaur figs, go to your local Hobby Lobby. And if you can't go to a Hobby Lobby, I'm sorry. But Hobby Lobbies
Sure,
have
I got
bins.
mine. The King Kong I showed you come from Hobby Lobby. This SOB right here come from Hobby Lobby. Look at that
Oh,
thing.
he's pretty.
Oh yeah. You imagine being out in your little Viking ship and that Joker comes ripping up. I bought a bunch of crocodiles because I bought the Reaper giant crocodiles. What's that?
What's that plesiosaur doing to us? It's eating your boat.
Right.
Um,
I bought the giant Reaper crocodiles and I measured them and they were like 15 feet long, maybe 20 feet. They're like 4 inches, right?
a wild
And
hungar
I'm
is a
sitting here
good
thinking, Gustav, which was an actual crocodile that lived in Africa, was bigger than that. And he's
Yes.
not even the biggest crocodile.
Nope.
So, Reaper, I don't know what they're thinking because they did great with the gulper, the giant catfish. That thing is great. But their giant crocodile is not a giant crocodile. It's just a crocodile. So I'd hate to think what they would sell as a crocodile. It'd be what, a 10, oh, look at that. Be like a 10-foot tall crocodile.
This shirt needs a version 2. I would love to see this character, but like this has got to be replaced by Timmy. Make Timmy into this
Oh.
guy right here.
Pilkington?
Yes.
Or find a picture of bald. Oh, wait. I already know who I know that's bald. Maybe the next time that picture's done, somebody should put Bruce there. Holding the headset up, the microphone. That would be cool.
We're going to be making fun of Somali the whole time. For the next 15 novels of Dune, we're making fun of Somalis.
Well, I mean, here's the good news about the future of Dune. There are no Somalis.
No, there's not.
So, anyway. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they know where Earth is exactly. And if they do know, it's been turned into a garden or something. Like no one's allowed on or off of it. Like a big reservation or something. I'd have to look into it to be more sure. But, so, yeah, maybe I need to talk to Cold Iron and be like, hey, Coldy, my buddy, my friend, my pal. What do you say? I mean, he did a couple of thumbnails for Haas and made Haas look like a dwarf. And they're pretty good. I mean, yes, my brother does look like a dwarf.
And if your brother was like less than 5 foot tall, I could see it. But in my head, Hungar's always big because he always has a camera set up to where he looks like a very big, very tall, very great gentleman. You're telling me that he's like my height, 5'6".
Yeah, he's about 5'6", I guess. Like when I give him a hug, whenever we're around each other, like if I hug him goodbye, I can rest my chin on the top of his head. Which is comfortable because his head is bald, so the top of his head is very soft and velvety.
I have to shave to give you that feeling.
Yeah. I told him to my therapist the other day, and she laughed. I told her that the whole time I was in Kentucky, every morning I woke up, I was hit with a hard R as soon as I walked out of the room. She's like, what? What's the hard R word? And I'm like, you know. She's like, I don't. And I said, starts with an N, ends with a hard R. And then she's like, oh. And I said, see, I know for a fact my brother is not a racist guy. I
No.
mean, he's dated tons of black chicks. But I walk out the room and he's like, what's up? And I'm just like, oh,
What's up, my
man.
ninja?
Yeah, what up, my ninja? And I'm just like, okay, so this is how the day starts right off the bat. Like I'm in a rap group or something. Hey, instead of straight out of Compton, brother, we could do like coming straight out the holler.
Dude,
Another crazy ass hillbilly
badass.
or something. No, we need a better word than hillbilly though, because it's got to be like it could be cracker though, but with not out the hard R's. So it could be like coming straight out the holler. Another crazy ass cracker. The more bodies I pile, the more my rep stacks taller or some shit. I'm a bad MFer and you know this. But the punks in Ohio don't want to show this. But I don't give a damn. I'm gonna get my snaps. Whether it's robbing you or stealing the copper out your house. Some shit only people from Appalachia understand. Like, what do you mean stealing the copper out of someone's house? Move to Harlan County. Move to Harlan County. You'll find out what that means. Move up to Pikeville, Lincoln. Oh, yeah. You better own some big frickin' dogs because when you go to the grocery store, you need to let all the meth heads in the neighborhood know that stealing all the copper wiring out of your house is going to come with a substantial risk. But
I have the chance to pick up a Malinois right now. I have to
great
turn
dogs.
it down. I have to
Yep.
turn it down. I don't have the energy to do 10 years of running 4.5 to 6 miles a day and then
Yeah.
just attending to a dog. I love Malinois for what they do well. They are great security. They're good fucking home defense. I don't have kids with me. I would have to take it with me because when I come home, there'd be nothing left inside. All the miniatures would be digested, and there'd be little piles of dog shit with Reaper plastic in them. I don't need it. I don't need that.
That is okay. You're not wrong, kind of, but they're not that bad. The thing with the Malinois is that, like, as long as it gets to get out and exercise and run around and you deal with it, they're great dogs. They are great dogs. So if you're going to own one of those, what you really want is a backyard, a big backyard.
Yeah, I don't have that either.
I mean, you don't got to run 20 miles. Just go out and chuck the ball at him, or if you got a big, good knotted rope, go out and fight him over the rope, whatever like that, and you'll have a friend for life. My niece has one, and it is such a good dog. I mean,
They're great.
and nobody's ever going to rob her, because I'll tell you what, anybody comes down the street and that little bastard's up in the window and it's looking at them. It's letting them know that, yeah, you step onto this property acting up, you're going to catch it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the worst dog you want to get is a Samoyed, because they will literally help people rob you.
They are too furry for me. I can't have that. That'd be like getting a husky down here. No.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it would be like, because Samoyeds are just huskies, but from Siberia.
Yes.
It's all the same kind of Spitz breed dog. And if you don't brush them bastards every day, oh my goodness. And then it doesn't help that they only really come in one color, which is snow white, right? And the thing they love the most in the universe is digging and rolling in mud. So
Yeah, I have a problem
I've
with that right
watched
now.
tons of videos about Samoyed owners, and they're like, just spent $100 getting my dog groomed. And then, like, the next frame, the dog's in a flower bed, literally buried up to its freaking eyeballs. They're just like looking at, like, ugh. But the reason I love the Samoyed so much is it's basically just a giant Pomeranian.
I mean, if
It's
you
like someone took a
if you want
Pomeranian and turned it. What?
if you want a Pomeranian but big, yeah, Samoyeds are great because they
We've got a
really
big
are big
Pomeranian.
poms. They're like a giant pom.
You've got somebody did a Pokemon thing where it was like the 3 phases of the life cycle. And phase 1 is a Pomeranian, and phase 2 is an Alaskan Spitz, and phase 3 is a Samoyed. And it had them all standing together, and other than the size, it was like, yeah, they look just like each other, But my first Pomeranian was 7 pounds. My current Pomeranian is about 15 because he's a throwback. I think I've told you that before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the original Pomeranian was a 50 pounds like work dog. And then for some reason they bred them all down. And then no one wanted the big ones, so they just kind of went extinct or whatever. But every now and then, a pair of Pomeranians, I have a baby, and they'll throw out a 15 to 20 pound dog. And people are like, I mean, it looks just like a Pomeranian, it's just bigger. And, and I like it. When I read that the woman had it for sale, and I read up the parentage and, all the stuff you read up before you spend that kind of money for a dog. Um, I told the wife, I was like, I don't want another little dog because the last one we had for like 14 years, and I loved him to death. He was the best dog. He's the black one that sometimes you see me with a picture of the black Pomeranian, and I'm just kind of holding him and stuff. Such a great dog, but he had every congenital illness that, he had bad knees, and his trachea was effed up. Like, everything was bad. Our new dog, dumb as a bag of hammers, but like just sturdy as hell, Like,
That's
he'll go out in
usually
the
how
yard
most
and run
dogs are.
circles and just carry on. Now I've got something that, Bruce, I know you probably think is foolish, but I have bought probably maybe close to 10 packs of these guys. You want to see?
Show me.
This guy right here.
The seated guy in the chair? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yep. Well, a lot of them I started cutting heads off and doing head swaps, cutting the hats off and putting different hats on them. Just whatever it takes to make them look a little different, Because if I want to do up a badass tavern scene, I want to do it up. I want to make almost like a diorama. Bunch of guys hanging out in the tavern, drinking and carrying on.
So I got a dilemma coming up.
The horns of a dilemma.
Brandon Herrera is having a gathering on Sunday, right in the middle of the time where I'd be doing a movie review with Janet.
Wow.
It's on a topic I'm very near and dear to. I want to get rid of Islam in Texas. That's my goal. I just don't want to see another fucking mosque. I want to turn them all into pork barbecue processing. And I want all those people sent to either Michigan or overseas because we just don't need them here. They're incompatible with Western society. And I know that sounds really, really problematic for those that want to be diverse and inclusive. Well, fuck you. And I'm never going to apologize for my stance on that. I've dealt with this since I was 18. I despise the entire cult. And Brandon's doing a big synopsis on Sunday. I want to see what he's got to say. But Sunday's my movie day with
What
Janet.
movie were you gonna watch?
Surprise, surprise! Another Clint Eastwood film.
Yeah, but I mean, you've already watched Outlaw Josie Wells,
You were getting
and therefore
into-
you know that my word is like the word of Tin Bears.
You were going to watch Bronco Billy.
Huh. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Everything I've
It
heard
is
so
good
far.
that warriors such as us meet in the battle of life or the struggle of life and death,
I'll be right back.
right? It's one of the best speeches in the Outlaw Josie Wells, guys. If you've never seen the movie, where Josie goes up and he meets Tin Bears, the Comanche chief, and he's like, gives him the whole, I ain't here to offer you nothing extra. You give me life, and I give you life. And where's basically he's like, how do I know you're not lying? And Clint Eastwood's like, well, you can see it right here in the iron of my pistol and the iron of your rifles. We will mark our lodge with the sign of the Comanche. You can slaughter some of our cattle. Blah, blah, blah. And Tin Bears gives him a good look and says, I choose life. But he also gives the whole speech, which I love, about the whole, there are iron in your words and iron in your weapons for all Comanche to see. The paper cannot hold this iron. It's good that men such as we meet in the struggle of life or death. And I just thought, yep, that is a good speech, because you can make all the treaties you want, and most of them aren't worth the paper they're written on. But there was such a time at some point in my fantastical imaginations, because probably not in reality, but I like to believe there was a time when two honorable men could meet and give one another their word on something, and it actually mattered. I mean, I'm not saying that that's true or ever has been true or ever will be true, but there is a part of me that really deeply kind of wishes or hopes that it could be true. So I guess that's the romantic in me, right?
Yeah.
That, yeah, that's me being a romantic. But one thing about the Comanche that people don't know, they had an area, the Comanchero there, which is most of South Texas and North Mexico. And for the longest time, the Mexican, and this is before Texas was a state, the longest time, the Mexicans never ruled that area. Because the Mexican army, whether it was under the French or the Spanish or whomever, they could never defeat the Comanche. And a little known historical fact is the reason they started letting Anglos settle in Texas is because they were hoping the Anglos would wipe out the Comanches, which did happen eventually. But of course, when they tried to overtax the Anglos and force them all to convert to Roman Catholicism, shit went sideways pretty quick. And that's how we end up with Texas. Actually, in California, New Mexico, parts of Arizona, you name it. But I was saying, it's only yours if you can keep it.
I love that idea.
Yeah. Well, I believe one of the founding fathers actually said that. He
Thomas
says, "We have
Jefferson.
left for you a republic if you can keep it."
I want to say Jefferson said
So,
that.
but I am not sure who actually said it, which one of the guys. And I think the answer is, and this is something Janet and I should talk about one day, is that the answer is no, we could not keep the republic.
The famous line, "A republic, if you can keep it," is attributed to Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin. Well, that dude did about everything. For not ever being president,
Fuck
he
yes.
had as big of a freaking roll on shit as a lot of the presidents did.
Yes.
Poor Richard.
Have you ever looked up his records, his letters? You gotta
Well,
look
I
up his
mean,
letters.
I know he had some frisky things to say to
Oh my
a couple
god,
of young women.
it was so good. And it's not just a company of women stuff, although that's the stuff that all the guys talk about. But like his ideas on nation building and fixing an economy and getting things squared away to where people can relate and unite and be neighborly. The guy was a fucking genius. And then he's like, you
That's
know what? I helped you get this far, but I'm going to go to France because there's some fat ass bitches over there, and Benny's got to sink his dick in them. God,
Benny's gonna go over and join the Hellfire Club, get drunk and bang hoes.
I'm
Catch you
telling you
later.
what, he did good.
Well, I mean, you think about it. Like I said, not even a president. He's on the hundo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They even call that the Benjamin. I need those Benjamins, right? That dude wasn't even the president. But another thing he did is like everything he invented, he never copyrighted. I don't know if he had like weird views on copyright or whatever, which I'm not a huge fan of some of it. But yeah, he invented like the lightning rod, the Franklin stove, and all kinds of shit he invented. And he immediately just gave away the patents to anybody.
yeah.
He's like, yeah, if you can make this shit better than I can, do it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, an interesting guy. I won't say he was completely without flaw, but damn it, who is? And
I
that's all I'll say about that. Who is without flaw? It's not me. So, but yeah, that guy was inventing all kinds of shit. What I was going to say, and then I'm going to get going, is that if you look at our founding fathers, it was like a collection of super geniuses. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And even the ones that weren't super geniuses were just incredibly wise men. They just kind of knew stuff, right? But let's say Washington, he might not have been a super genius, but he was wise. He was a wise man. He knew the way shit worked. Jefferson was a super genius. I mean, the guy could write two letters in two different languages at the same time and shit like that. That's some wild shit. Ben Franklin, super genius. Jefferson's arch nemesis, super genius. I believe that would be Madison.
Yeah, James Madison was a little bit.
Was it Madison or was it who's on the $10 bill?
Hold on.
Hamilton. Yeah. Jefferson and Hamilton didn't like each other so much that Aaron Burr, who was a friend of Jefferson, shot Hamilton. And it was because they were arguing over whether power should be centralized or decentralized. And Madison was part of that, you know. The group of guys that were all behind the Federalist Papers, that was kind of their argument. Whereas you had the other group of guys, the Jeffersonians, and their argument was that all power should be dispersed amongst the people and that the federal government shouldn't even have power. And that shit got heated, man. They got into fist fights and shit right there in Congress. Jeff's lost 4 characters already.
Ben Franklin was 70 during the time of the signing of the Constitution, though, if I remember right.
Does he know?
He was already an old man.
I'm just reading these last things. Stephen asked if I've checked out the Bard yet. Yes, Bards are in Hyperborea. They're not Bards like in any other game. It's like, it's almost kind of like a weird thing because, for one thing, they're agents of chaos. They're mystical thieves. They have martial versatility of a fighter, glamour craft of an ecclesiastical and thaumaturgical sorcerer, which means arcane and divine magic. They can do all kinds of abilities through song, verse, and music, opening windows to other dimensions and tapping into weird vibrations that permeate the illimitable black gulf. They're cherished or detested by kings, knights, and noblemen. They use their preternatural gifts to craft poems and satires interwoven with sorcerous vibration. Others play musical instruments to affect similar results. A Viking bard is called a skald. Skald performs kennings, compound metaphorical poems laced with sorcery, and composes sagas of kings and kingly deeds, blood feuds, and heroic battles. Bards often roam with fellow adventure seekers, composing new works based on the escapades of the glory and daring do. They have to have like a lot of they have to have basically all of their attributes have to be at least a 9 with a 15 charisma. Dex and charisma are the primary. They are die 8 hit die. They can be chaotic good, neutral, or chaotic evil. Never a lawful alignment. They can wear light and medium armor, which is good. They can use any shield. They can use any weapons. So, Bard with a great axe? Yeah, sure, why not? They've got their favorite saving throws in devices and avoidance, so dodge and magic wands. They can counter song to stop gorgons and harpies and shit like that. We already knew that. They get an extraordinary bonus to feats of dexterity. They have a chance of recalling random facts and slivers of knowledge. They can inspire their enemy or their allies, not their enemies, that would be wild. They use magic items normally restricted to magicians and clerics, so both. They can mesmerize people through song. And their casting and fighting ability is good. So at level 1, they get a druid spell. At level 2, they get a illusionist spell. And then it goes back and forth. And that's cast per day. They can read magic. They can use all scrolls. Oh, no, wait. They can use ecclesiastical and thaumaturgical scrolls as long as they're illusionist or druid. They can write scrolls. They have sorcery. They can enlist henchmen. They, at 9th level, can become lords of their own domains. They get progressive thief abilities. They can decipher scripts, discern noise, hide and move silently. Their initial combat matrix is to hit armor class 0 19. So that's already really good. So basically, it's like a warrior thief mage druid. It's a warrior thief illusionist druid.
I'd buy that for
So
$1.
as they level up, yeah, they get additional spells. So at maximum level 12, they will have 2 level 1, 2, 3, and 4 druid spells and the same illusionist spells. And their thief abilities, which they only get the hide and the move silently and discern noise and whatever, they progress just as a thief would. So while they only get those 4 thief abilities, they're just as good at them as thief is. And then let's see. So an average level bard, level 6, has a fighting ability of 4. So notwithstanding any sort of align or attributes or magic items, their THAC0 is 15 to hit armor class 0. That's not bad. I mean, and you can assume that by that time they're going to have a magic weapon or something. So in order to hit a guy wearing a set of chainmail with a shield, they would literally need a 9. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Stephen. Yes. And Jeff keeps losing characters. That's because that's what I was saying, This game might only go to level 12, but everything is balanced at that. So when I read a monster in here and it doesn't seem super impressive, maybe compared to a monster from 3rd edition, you have to remember, though, that the players are nothing compared to the players from. I mean, I played 3rd edition, man. I had a fighter one time that I put everything in dex. Like, he had, barely enough strength to even get bonus to damage. I mean, like a 13 strength, but I went hard 18 dex. And everything else pretty much sucked. And every level that I got feats, I took all of the dex feats. So I took improved crit. There was a leaping attack and this and that. So by the time that character hit level 9 or 10, I could jump 30 feet, attack you, jump 20 feet back, and if you tried to charge me, attack you before you attacked me. And my crit with a longsword was 16 plus, which, I mean, that's a lot of crits, man. You're critting a lot at that point. And then there's the other way you cheat in 3rd edition. My character wore a chain shirt, which means I get to use my full dex bonus, and I get the armor class of +4, I think it was, right? So my character, wearing nothing but a chain shirt, had an armor class of 19 or 20. You know what I mean? It was I'm in a chain shirt. I've got my high-ass dex. And, of course, every time I went up a level, I would raise dex. So at one point, I think I had a 20 dex. And it was no one can hit me. I can move wherever I want because I'm not wearing any kind of heavy armor at all. I've got my full movement, and I've got all of these reactionary dex-based attack abilities where, if I roll a crit, I get to make another attack for free, and again, when you're talking about critting on a 15 or a 16, that's almost every attack round. I'm getting a crit on something, so I'm attacking again. And And then, like I said, attacking you, hitting you for full damage, and then jumping away from you so that if you try to charge me, I get to attack you before you attack me. I mean, crazy ass shit. Crazy ass shit. We got the Migo. These guys are cool. I was fighting these guys in Conan the other day, and it sucked. Their laser pistol is the worst. They brandish a pistol made out of grown crystals, and got a range of 120. Requires an attack roll. If it hits, you must make a death save. If you fail the death save, you are immediately disintegrated to a smoky pile of ash. If you save the death save, you take 3d6 hit points of damage. They also wield crystal swords that do 1d4 plus 8 damage each. And if they're killed, their innards rapidly break down and they turn into just a pool of goo really quick. Oh, but their last special ability, Bruce, you'll love this. Their last special ability, space flight. They can fly through space. That is a natural ability of the Migo.
What?
They can literally just fly through space.
Like it?
Yeah. They're not even native to Hyperborea. They only come to Hyperborea to harvest certain minerals and crystals and stuff that they need. I think one of us is. And they worship a deity known as Shub-Niggurath, the black
That's
goat
pretty
of the
bad.
woods with 1,000 young. Now, see, this is weird. The Minotaur in
You know
this
what?
game is just as badass as a 6x6 Minotaur that does a bunch of damage. And the Superior Minotaur is a 10 hit die creature. Damn. Yeah, you're lagging pretty bad, Bruce.
This. I'm sorry. What I would ever going to have
Sorry.
anything to do with the Shub-Niggurath, have one of your player characters.
I've actually
remember in
been writing
3.5
an adventure. Go ahead.
You remember the 3.5 character class, the Blood Magus?
Yeah.
His 10th level capstone ability was anything he had injured, he could teleport through. But if he decided to, he could actually drop his teleport back about a foot and make a bloody exit out of something. One of the things that Shub-Niggurath is famous for in pop culture, Shub-Niggurath is the ending boss of the original Quake from 1996. We just had the 30th anniversary this year.
Me.
The way you kill Shub-Niggurath in Quake is literally there's this little orb that floats around the map, and it actually passes through Shub-Niggurath. Well, if you fight your way through the map, you get to a portal. That portal, once you get in there, teleports you to wherever that little orb is. And the way you're supposed to beat the game is you teleport, hit the portal, and you teleport over to where the thing's floating through Shub-Niggurath, and then you telefrag it. That was the inspiration for the Magus. And nobody remembers that except for diehard pixelated FPS nerds like me. But that would be a lot of fun to put into a game and just watch your players kind of stumble and fall and try to figure out how to beat this nasty monster.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Shub-Niggurath in Call of Cthulhu is one of the most worshipped great old ones.
Yes.
Kind of a dark fertility goddess is really what
Yes.
the role is. And as a result, like I've basically finished writing a Arkham Horror adventure involving a holler full of inbred cannibals who worship Shub-Niggurath in Appalachia, actually pretty near to Bethel, Kentucky. So yeah, they used the name, but that's not the creature. Because like when Shub-Niggurath appears, she can appear in many ways, but one of them is as this giant mass with like just hundreds upon hundreds of goat hooves sticking out
I think
and
I have
eyes
her.
and mouths everywhere. And she's constantly, from her gigantic vajayjay, giving birth to like things. But then she's also constantly eating them too. So every now and then, rarely, some of these things she gives birth, the dark spawn and whatever, will get away. And then the women who worship her will sometimes do rituals that actually cause them to develop goat-like legs and goat-like horns and tails. And then those women who would be the higher priests and stuff, priestesses, would then have to dress appropriately so that your common guy in the 1930s doesn't notice, hey, this bitch has got goat legs. Yeah, that's a dark young. They like to hide in the forest because they're hard to spot in the trees because they kind of look like a tree. But there's things even worse than that she gives birth to, right? Just little things that run around. And then to make things even crazier, right? Like her ritual, which is on Beltane, everyone in the cult gets together naked. And they dance around the fire, and sometimes Shub-Niggurath will send one of her dark young to accept the sacrifices for her. And then they all have sex. Generally, this would be interfamilial relations. And then they sacrifice the 1-year-old children that were conceived during the last ritual. And that's pretty much how Shub-Niggurath rolls in H.P. Lovecraft. But she's also known by many other names, such as Magna Mater, the Great Mother, and sometimes as Sybil,
Yes.
which in the lore, the worship of Sybil was outright outlawed within the Roman Empire. They just put you to death if they caught you. So, there's a lot more to her than, like, as far as all of the great old ones go, she's probably the second most active after Nyarlathotep. As far as showing up and actually, doing stuff with her cult. And then the other thing about her is she has hundreds upon hundreds of big milkers all over her. And she's constantly, lactating. And if you drink her milk, it will have some sort of effect on you. And the effect could be something positive, like cure cancer, but then it could also turn you into some kind of weird mutant beast. So, I mean, if you're going to drink of the milk of Shub-Niggurath, you definitely better think about it. It's also an ingredient in a number of potions. You went with green. That is an interesting choice, and I like it. It looks really good.
I couldn't see anything else but green.
I went with black because she's described as the black goat of the wood. Now I have an alternate sculpt.
Where'd you get that from?
This was 3D printed, and I have to do the mouths and the dirt really better. But this is the alternate sculpt of the deep. Or
I like that one
you know,
better.
a child of Shub-Niggurath. Well, I
I
mean,
really like
Reaper, I think, did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Considering what they were doing. And the thing is, with these, the spawn of Shub-Niggurath, right? Here's mine. Is like there's no saying how many legs or anything, you know? Like literally, these are weird alien creatures. They can. And then I've got a bunch of the daughters of Shub-Niggurath, which just look like satyrs, but female.
Yes.
And yeah, and then I've got a bunch of the creatures, which look like weird mutant things with like goat horns that are just running. Because as soon as they're born, a lot of them just try to run to get away before they can be reabsorbed, let's say, into her mass. So, and it's weird though, because it's like she's worshipped as a goddess, but I mean, she is a creature so far beyond that. So it's like, I don't know. She's not actually a female or a male or a hermaphroditic thing. She's just a thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, when I was writing my adventure and I decided, I was going to write an adventure for the Arkham Horror game. Not Arkham Horror, but Horror.
Is that the board game or is this the RP?
It's a role playing game.
There's an Arkham
In
Horror
my
RP?
mind,
Wow.
there is a role playing game, Arkham Horror, 100%. But there's also a RPG, and it has 2 starter sets, and then you've got the book that basically the starter sets give you everything you need to play, except the ability to make your own characters. You need the actual core book for that, right? I absolutely love the game. I mean, I love it. And I've been a Call of Cthulhu fan my whole life, and I think that Arkham Horror might be a more fun way of playing Call of Cthulhu. Because one, your characters are a little bit stronger, so they don't just die the first time something looks at them. But two, the action economy is really wild because at the beginning of each of your turns, your character gets 6 dice 6. And you can spend dice 6 to move, or you can spend dice 6 to do skills. And when you want to do a skill, you can choose the number of dice 6s you want to roll to do the skill. And then as long as you get the number you're looking for, you succeed. So the perfect example would be you're playing a character and your firearm skill is 5, but you really want to hit something. Well, then maybe don't move and roll 3 dice. And that will up the odds of you getting the 5 that you need. Or if your skill is really good, you could just be like, F this shit, and roll 1 dice 6. And the reason that's good is because then it gives you a shit ton of other dice to do whatever the hell you want with. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe you want to take another shot. Well, you got the dice to do it. Take another shot. Also, if the more successes you actually get on a challenge, you get bonuses to the challenge. So if you need to hit somebody, you need a success. But if you roll like 3 successes, then not only did you hit your target, but you do additional damage or effects, up to you. And that can come in really handy, right? Now, how damage works in this game is as you get hurt, for every point of wound you get, you lose a die from that pool.
Uh-oh.
And it doesn't come back until you're actually healed, right? And when you lose your last dice, you roll on the major injury table, and that's where you can die. So basically, everyone can take 6 hits before they die. That might sound like a lot, but Tommy gun does like 3 damage. So if somebody hits you with a Colt 45, they're doing 2 or 3 damage. If they rolled a shit ton of die and got a shit ton of successes, then they might literally just take you out with one shot.
Is this a die pool system?
Huh?
Is this a die pool system?
Kinda, but not really, but sort of. It's like I said, you got 6 dice. And the 6 dice are not necessarily a die pool, even though they can become a die pool. What they are is they are your action economy, is the dice. So 6 dice means, in theory, you can do 6 things. Right?
Theory.
Now, if you want to run, you don't have to actually roll a die. You just take a die off of your sheet and set it aside, showing that it's been used. And that represents the fact that your character has moved. But if you want to do actual skills, things that, may or may not succeed, then you have to actually roll the die, and you can choose the number of dice you're going to roll. So it can be a die pool system because you can roll multiple dice to try to shoot the thing you're trying to shoot, because you're trying to guarantee success as much as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
But don't have to be. You can roll one die and just hope that, the fates are looking out for you or whatever. So I personally just love everything about that, the way that system is laid out. I like the fact that it's kind of a die pool system, but not. And
It just
the
sounds
fact
like
that
Star Wars
you
D6.
kinda, sorta, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, like I said, the big thing I really love about it is how much control you have over exactly what your character can and will do in a round. You literally control everything that character can and will do. And it's all based on how many or how you spend your action. Yeah, that's what I should call it. The dice equal your action pool. They are your action economy. So, whatever you want to do, that's what they are. And like I said, as you get wounded, you have less actions. And that represents the fact that your character's, got a gunshot wound. So he's not going to be so sprite on his feet as maybe he would have been. And again, I just really, really dig it. So, I was going to talk about this and I didn't, and I'll just mention it before I go. I picked up a war game by Two Fat Lardies called Good Cowboy, or What a Good Cowboy, or something like that. And it's a skirmish game set in the Old West. And you make like your team of cowboys who can be anything from rawhide or whatever they call them, green hides or whatever, all the way up to like shootists and aces. And then you set up your little area of terrain on a 2x2 table, and that because it doesn't require a lot of area. Most of the gangs are like 5 guys, right? And then you just basically use a dice 6 and duke it out. And the idea of a game like that is really appealing to me. I might even get my wife involved in something like that, you know. Some banditos versus, and Reaper sells like a fat Mexican in a sombrero, um, stuff like that. So I could totally see putting together a gang of like Mexicano, banditos, bunch of dudes with like the bandoliers across their chest and the sombreros and just running around, you know, fighting with Texas Rangers or whatever. I mean, I could literally play out like the gunfighting scenes from like Fistful of Dollars and stuff like that. Which,
Fistful of Dollars is still the best of the Dollars trilogy.
right. This is a spawn of Shub-Niggurath. It's
Okay.
just a little mutant thing covered in horns with goat legs and a big ass maw. And it's just going to run as far away from Shub-Niggurath as it can and then be a monster until it dies. Which, eventually someone's going to, shoot it or beat it to death or something. Because they're not exceptionally powerful beings, they're just what they are. So, but she's constantly giving birth to those things and then constantly reabsorbing them. And that's kind of a thing with her. So anyway, I'm gonna get going. Might eat.
I just saw that there's this figure on Reaper's
On
website.
Reaper, I did not care for that, unfortunately. I looked at it and it just looked too, like, I don't know, thin, to whatever. I mean, it might be an amazing figure actually in person, but the picture they did for it doesn't do it a lot of good.
No, it doesn't. Damn it!
Now the Reaper version
Needs
of
more kitties.
Demigorgon is pretty badass.
I've got that one.
Yeah, that's badass. I like that guy. And they've got a spider
Yeah,
that I keep looking at it. It's like the Reaper giant spider. They want like $40 for it.
It's worth it.
I need to find
Worth it.
what the scale is on this thing. How big is this freaking thing?
Hold on. Let me go grab my big spider.
I mean, is it gigantic?
Gargantuan.
All right. Well, then that's good. Do 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 do. So long, Cheney, walking with the Queen. You're a werewolf for London.
So here's your favorite two-headed demon god.
Yeah, that guy's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like this figure. This is one of my favorite figures I've done.
You did a good paint job too. I like all the blue and everything. That's nice. Okay, so it's a gigantic, like Shelob spider.
It's close to shit. She whatever.
All right, that's cool looking. Maybe the next time I feel like giving Reaper a little bit more money, I might look at that. But all that said, Bruce, it's been great hanging with you. And I'm going to head
Love
up.
you, James.
Hey, man. Right back at you. Oh,
Tell,
I do
tell the
got something
family.
to show you, though, before I go, just because I just saw it. If I can extract it from this freaking Viking shit. Okay, let's see. Can I find the face? There's the face. Maybe.
So should I? Ooh, that is nice.
Yeah, this comes
Is that
from a
a
company in
print?
Greece called Corpse Guide. And it is a
Huh.
bit expensive, especially shipping, but they are super quick with the shipping. That is the avatar of Shub Niggurath. And you can tell, like on the one side I showed you, you can't see because I don't know how the can. Okay, it's a little better. You can see all the horns, and then she's got like a mouth, but it's also like a vagina.
Yeah.
It's like both, right? And then she's surrounded by breasts and horns and mouths and eyes just randomly appearing. There's goat hooves just sticking out for no reason. And basically, on the backside, you can see that she's literally giving birth to one of those, spawnling things I showed you. One of these is literally popping out
I
of
like
her.
that.
And yeah, that is, the company, Crippled God is what it's called. They do a lot of 3D prints, and of all the people who do Lovecraftian horror, they do the best. They get the closest, but anywho, so I will see you later, homie, and
I will
thank
be
you for
around.
joining me. And
Love having time with you.
yeah, peace and love, bro.